Hour number 2 already. Can you believe it, Scott? That was a quick hour, man.
Hey, there was some hard-hitting information, action-packed first hour, so...
Hardcore news.
Michael Bay explosions going on in the background,
big
all
time,
that
dude.
stuff.
Big time. Yeah, I'm talking to Michael Bay. I'm trying to get a job for him as special effects. Come on, Scott. How close was that to having, like, the grooviest intro of any alternative media podcaster? And I hate calling myself alternative media, but I am what I am,
It was very impressive. Just a few little tweaks, and I think you're going to have that completely dialed in.
Two frames that broke my back. Oh, I tell you, man, devastated. Yeah. Glowing, like I said, and all looking cool, and oh man.
I think the Omen was chugging, and that video card was like, oh.
Actually, I was sat here, Scott, and I'm thinking, I wonder, what's that noise? First time the Omen fans have been kicking into full life. I'm thinking, whoa.
Oh.
Holy cow, man. Holy cow.
Yeah, I had to refill my cooling loop in my computer because it was making noises that I did not like.
How is that? Like, because I've watched people doing that on YouTube. I've seen it. It looks absolutely awesome. Some of the cases, some of the designs, But come on, be serious, dude. When you're like putting water inside your computer and piping it through things, how much of a come to Jesus moment is that when you first turn it on, dude? Because that must be kind of nerve-wracking.
It's not as bad. It's not as bad as you would think, okay? But still, there's that little clinch moment, let's just say, whenever you turn the pump on for the first time and hope that your loop is nice and sealed.
See, you only find out once it's up and running, folks. That's terrifying.
But
Scott, that's like doing your pre-flight checks in the air. That's no good. You're in the air at that point, man.
But it's interesting, like, so my dad actually built the cooling loop on this computer. This was his old rig, I guess you could say. And but it's weird because even though it's a sealed loop, there's like microscopic gaps, right? Like where water's not going to leak through, you know what I mean? But over time, evaporation actually occurs and your water level starts to drop in the loop. And so you got to top her off and...
Good Lord.
But hey, the performance is worth it, my friend.
Is it worth it though? Is the gain, like, is the performance gain worth going down the holy crap, I'm putting water through my machine, right,
So the CPU in my computer is about 2012, 2013 is
holy
when that CPU
crap, dude.
Okay, so it's a quad core CPU, and stock, I think it's like 3.8, but with water cooling, with liquid cooling, I can clock it up to 4.6.
I knew that term clocking would come in somewhere. You're one of those dudes, aren't you? You're one of those dudes that'll sit there and tweak it, right? Especially the GPU overclocking, man.
Yeah, I'm in the BIOS all the time. I've got MSI Afterburner fired. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. Yeah.
Dang, dude, dang.
Yeah.
Whoa. Now that was lucky. I almost lost a cup of coffee. Now that happened, Scott. I was on a solo show and I actually coffeed.
That's the unintended liquid cooling that you don't want. You don't want that kind of liquid cooling.
No, definitely not, dude. Definitely not. But listen, we're in the month of June now, so we're still sitting here waiting for our UFO report. Are you excited, Scott? You're on the edge of your seat. Are you ready? You ready for?
Yeah.
Dare we call it disclosure?
What we got going on?
Oh, well, I'm just saying. I mean, when it's like people in government that have been helping to hide all this stuff, and they're coming out and saying it's now coming out. I mean,
the A-tip to the Stars Academy, all that good stuff.
when we get the Congress report, the Senate report comes this month at some point. You've got they have to kind of report all the stuff they've been looking into around all these daily sightings around U.S. naval.
I'm just gonna start calling it phony baloney disclosure. It's phony baloney, phony baloney. Boo, boo, boo! These people.
You know, it's quite interesting. I must admit, right? I'll tell you why it's interesting, because it's kind of on the face of it. I say on the face of it, giving us an insight into how it's kind of playing out behind the scenes. Because it sounds like there's two factions. Call it the Pentagon, the CIA, whatever. And you had one faction who were very much rubber stamping and okaying, like we speculated, people like Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, Hal Puthoff to the Stars Academy, right? But there's this other faction within the Pentagon, DOD, CIA, that have still wanted to maintain this level of secrecy. And that's all coming to a kind of head now, because you've had people over the years since Elizondo came out trying to prove he is who he says he is. He worked on ATIP and everything else, and been kind of mixed messaging at times. And Elizondo, he's now employed Daniel Sheehan, a constitutional lawyer, very famous one, Oliver North. Big cases, dude, big cases. But he's been working in and around ufology for 30 odd years as well. And the reason Elizondo's got him is because he says there's a portion or a faction within DOD, the Pentagon, that are trying to ruin his career, ruin his credibility, take away all of his credentials, his security clearance, all this kind of stuff going on. So through that, you're kind of, I'm reading between the lines and seeing potentially how there's this almost two groups, two factions. One's wanting to get it out, don't know why. The other one's wanting to keep it hidden because they've always kept it hidden. So that's why it's kind of taking on a new level of kind of interest for me. Maybe not so much the report, right? But what comes after it, because we're definitely living through something not unique here, as we're going to see in a moment with articles I've got pulled up. It's nothing new that you get military and governments talking about aliens and UFOs, but there's something weird, right?
So even if there is this faction that wants to get it out, there has to be an agenda behind it, right? Like I don't see this as just disclosure out of the good of their hearts. You know what I mean? Like I just there's something very, very shady about all of this.
Well, I think it's a no-brainer. I think you'll agree with this. It's a no-brainer that one thing we'll see is the next time the NDAA is up for budget handouts, right? The Space Force is going to have a really compelling argument to make for big funding if there's craft out there that we don't know anything about and are a threat to our national security. You feel me?
Well, yes. And I mean, and that funding could even just be handed over on the pretext of foreign countries possibly developing technology that we don't have, right? Because what is a UFO? I mean, the base definition of a UFO is an unidentified flying object.
I have to backfill for you because I know you're not consuming as much news these days, and that's a good thing. But we've had one of the senators coming out, and he was asked, what's the chances? Is this Russian or China, or are we thinking alien? He went straight to alien. Obama's come out, and when he was asked, is it China, Russia, or we're going straight to alien, we don't know who it is. Alien, going towards the alien thing. So it feels like they're leaning towards the outside, the last card, The last card, Scott. The last card would be the alien threat. Hey? Rocking my Carol Rosen impersonation there, my flowing grey locks of hair that you have to imagine if you're looking at this right now, you know?
But then doesn't the whole alien thing also basically give you an air of plausible deniability, right? Because if you can just blame everything on aliens, then like, oh, we don't know, maybe it's something, not of this world, and so, I mean, are there aliens? Yeah. Yeah. Mathematically speaking, yes, there's aliens. Are they visiting our planet? Probably. I mean, are there some UFO sightings that are probably legit and, unexplained or whatever? Yeah. But I think the stuff coming out of the Pentagon and the stuff that's being pushed on, like mainstream media and stuff, there's something very fishy going on with that. And
absolutely, I agree. And I think a lot of the videos that we've seen have been, now, when I say that these are dodgy, it doesn't mean that the pilots involved are in on the scam. It doesn't mean that the radar operators are in on the scam. They're very well, in my mind, they could be looking at what they say they're looking at, something unimaginable to them. But we're going to take a look as we go on tonight at some technologies that are out there, and have been out there for a long time, that could arguably, nowadays, be in the form of something like the Tic Tac, something like the gimbal, something like that. And I find it very convenient that these craft have been turning up for 4 years. 4 years, just right in camera shot. Be it a gun camera, be it the camera on the ship with the flare, the one going under the water. Splash, splash, splash. We've had that new video now, Scott. One goes actually down under. They call it a transmedium vehicle. And we've got another video with multiple tracks belonging to craft that don't have transponders and do maneuvers that, whoa, we don't know what's going on there. But I'm going to hopefully, by the time we get through the next hour, not prove to you that that's technology of ours as opposed to alien, but I'm going to give you the jigsaw pieces to put together that definitely add weight to the argument that we have got and had the potential to do these kind of things for actually quite a long time. And a lot of people saying, oh, this is brilliant. And I've been guilty of this. And I've said this before, but I've been guilty of getting super excited because in my lifetime, never knowing anything like this, I'm coming out ready to talk about aliens, the mainstream news talking about it. Only that's my lifetime. And we have had military talking about these things before. We've had Project Blue Book. And I found another thing as well, and I want to give a big special shout out to a YouTube channel that I'm not only really enjoying, but I wholeheartedly recommend and endorse, and it's called Alien Scientist, one word. These guys talk all about alien technology. Well, sorry, anti-gravity technology. They look into the history of programs that the military's been running. Not only that, but they actually work on anti-gravitic technology. And they come together with other scientists once a month and they have a round table, a conference thing. And these guys are really, really clued up on the history of military operations, the technology we've got. And one of the things that I heard them talking about that I hadn't heard of before, I think it's kind of interesting, and we'll start here, is something called Project Magnet. And for all you Canadians out there, this was your blue book. So it says Project Magnet was an unidentified flying object UFO study program established by Transport Canada in December 1950 under the direction of Wilbert Brockhouse Smith, senior radio engineer for Transport Canada's Broadcast and Measurements section. It was formally active until mid-1954 and informally active without government funding until Smith's death in 1962. Sounds like this guy Smith was like Mulder. When they pulled the funding, he just kept going, right? So Smith eventually concluded that UFOs were probably extraterrestrial in origin and likely operated by manipulating magnetism. Quite interesting, eh? So it says Smith made a request to use the facility of Department of Transport Studies or Transport to study UFOs. The project was formally approved in December 1950 with the intention to collect data about UFOs and apply any recovered data to practical engineering and technology. The ultimate goal of the project was to apply findings on the subject of geomagnetism to the possibilities that UFOs, if real, might hold the key to this new source of power. And that's why, Scotty, just to jump in there and we'll break in, that's why for me, what we see coming in the form of videos from the Pentagon and ATIP and more recently Jeremy Corbell as opposed to Tom DeLonge. We've had the USO, we've had the green flashing triangle. It just happens to have FAA standard wingtip flashing on it, just saying. And we've got this one with the radar stuff on it. Now, for me, I think if we're seeing it, it tells me that they totally understand what it is at some level somewhere. They've got a good grasp on what it is. Because if it was alien and they didn't quite know what it was, you wouldn't want to go showing, say, the Chinese or the Russians that might have a scientist that'll look at that video and put it together with his research and go, voila, I've cracked it. Now, why he would be saying voila if he was Chinese or Russian, that's another story altogether. He's a Frenchman, he's a double agent, right? You see why I think it's more stuff that they know, they know exactly what it is. And I think it's been used to concoct the outside alien threat for the Budos.
Yeah, that's a real possibility. Is this also like kind of a shadow way of showing your adversaries the technology you have, but without saying, "Oh, look at this weapon we have." You just put out something showing that there's this like strange aircraft that your military was seeing or whatever. I don't know. Look, the whole thing of using electromagnetism for, quote unquote, anti-gravitational purposes. I mean, this is a field of study that's been going on for, people have been studying magnetism and we really still don't even understand all of the effects of it, actually. And I mean, obviously the best way would be to exploit the Earth's natural magnetic field. And once you can do that, then you can repel yourself into whatever direction you want to go.
Well, Scott, if what we're told about the Philadelphia experiment's true, if you use magnets the right way, you don't even have to travel at a super speed. You can just blink out of existence and blink back in somewhere.
Exactly, because we know that at a quantum level, there is a lot of interesting things going on with the electromagnetic field and everything. That seems to be a very core element of, discussing what's going on in quantum physics and all that stuff. Magnetism plays, a huge role in a lot of things. So it's a very mysterious force to harness, I guess you could say.
No, big time, dude. Now, big time. I'm going to move us on from Project Magnet, but that was just one example away from Blue Book of how governments have done this in the past, But this next thing I've got here, this is really interesting. It's called Project Palladium.
Ooh,
Project Palladium. Now, this comes from the CIA.gov vault. And Jimmy last night was on the show talking about you can't trust anything that comes from there. And I get what Jimmy's saying. But I think this still holds value. And while I'm reading this, I want people to think to themselves about the recent video that came out of all the multiple radar tracks that were going on with
Mm.
UAPs allegedly being part of the story. And if we come over here, it says Project Palladium. We now knew the Soviet air defense radar powers and spatial coverage, but that was only half the answer to Oxcart's stealth and health. Now, we also know the sensitivity of the Soviets' radar receivers and the proficiency of their operators. The Oxcart program office had a stable of outside scientists to draw on, and with their help and suggestion, I came up with a scheme to electronically generate and inject carefully calibrated false targets into Soviet radars, deceiving them into seeing the tracking or seeing and tracking what was a ghost aircraft that was never there, folks. Basically, we received the radar signal and fed it into a variable delay line before transmitting the signal back to their radar. And by smoothly varying the length of the delay time, we could simulate the false target's range and speed. Knowing the radar's power and coverage from the PPMS projects, we could now simulate an aircraft on any radar cross-section, from an invisible stealth airplane to one that made a large blip on Soviet radar screens, and anything else in between, at any speed, at any altitude, and fly it along any path. But it says, but Whelan, now the CIA's new Deputy Director for Science and Technology, dubbed our project Palladium. Now, the real trick was to find some way of knowing which of our blips the Soviets could see on their screens. The smallest size blip being a measure of the sensitivity of the Soviets' radars and a skill to their operators. Now, that bit, this is another important bit before I get Scott back in here. It says every Palladium operation consisted of a CIA team with its ghost aircraft systems, an NSA team with its special ComInt, that's communications intelligence, and decryption equipment, and a military operational support team. Covert Palladium operations were carried out against a variety of Soviet radars around the world, from ground bases, naval ships, and submarines, and submarine antenna being the more tricky. The logistics of such operations were often a nightmare. For example, one winter when heavy snows closed all the airports in northern Japan, Jack W. spent more than 3 weeks transporting his large Palladium fan by train. Because of the small rail tunnels, he spent about 3 weeks in northern Japan in the dead of winter, hauling his van of Palladium equipment off trains and trucking and sledging over the mountain, blah, blah, blah. But Scott, that's like a document that's talking about Cold War stuff from like the 1950s onwards. And they were able to make the Soviet technicians of the time believe that they were looking at aircraft that weren't even there, dude. A bit like, maybe what Corbell's video shows of all these bogies that are, here, there, and everywhere. And it can be done. It can be done. That's my point. Not saying that's what we're seeing, but it can be done.
Yeah, it can totally be done. I mean, this is a way of hacking the equipment and generating a false image, that looks like it's a legit radar signature when it's actually nothing, And you also have to wonder, did the Soviets also figure that out, and did they do the same thing to our radar installations as well? I mean, just because we figured it out doesn't mean that the Russians didn't figure it out, right? I mean, they probably were working on a lot of the same stuff we were, and then you also have to factor in the whole, them stealing our secrets and us stealing their secrets. Or is this one of the things that maybe they figured out we were doing and they were able to figure it out themselves? Probably. I mean, that they were progressing, technologically along with us as well, and figuring things out as well. So I would probably think that at some point the Russians were able to figure out how to do that to our radars. And so then you have to wonder, how many of these incidents where our military radars were seeing bogeys and doing weird things on their radar screens, was that the Russians messing with them? Who knows? But no, you're right. I mean, the technology has been there for a while to do things like that. So I think that's a very interesting, kind of data point that needs to be made.
With what we know about governments, we always know how they love to control the narrative to the point where they really want to be the originators of whatever story it is that they're trying to control.
They're not going to come out and be like, "Oh, we're manipulating radars."
No, not yet. Never. We'll be right back. We were talking a little bit about the disclosure that's coming up, and I've for some time been kind of hinting that I'm leaning towards what we're seeing. I'm not saying there isn't aliens, I'm not saying there isn't craft, but what we're seeing, I'm leaning towards it being our own. And another story I want to bring up here, not get too far into it, but a lot of people seeing orbs of light and balls of light. And we've even been covering this on Warrior Mode. Stan Gordon says one of the most common, frequent reports he gets nowadays are these little balls, and he calls them miniature UFOs. Well, if we go back to July 19th, 2019, there's a story over here on militarytimes.com. Pentagon scientists are making talking plasma laser balls for use as non-lethal weapons. And it says here, instead of beaming a flashing light or shouting over a loudspeaker to keep people away from sensitive areas, new technology has been developed that could allow troops to fire a laser that can form a plasma ball that talks to potential intruders. The Laser-Induced Plasma Effect Program is part of the Joint Non-Lethal Weapons Directorate Program to find ways to deter, stun, basically stop adversaries short of killing them. Use of directed energy. They say they don't have that. Use of directed energy or lasers include heating up a target's skin to extremely uncomfortable levels without burning them, blasting confusing noises, or giving voice commands such as "Stop, or we'll be forced to fire upon you." So, balls of plasma. A lot of people saying they're seeing them in their UFOs. I'm just saying, we've got balls of plasma that are being weaponized. And then this last one, Scott. This one here is really important, I think. 2015. So if they're telling us about this in 2015, that means they've done a load of work on that in the years building up to it. And it's touchable 3D holograms in daylight. Now possible using super fast femtosecond lasers. And just boil it down without getting into it. We're talking about literally touchable, physical-ish holograms, Scott. Could that be the technology that these guys are following on their gun cams? I can't prove it. But point being, you can't rule out that it's our own stuff that we're looking at. And I hope the audience gets it. I'm not rubbishing the whole alien thing. You know me, I love my aliens and that, but we've got the tech to do what we're seeing in those videos.
Yeah, no doubt. And this holographic technology, right? I mean, what they're essentially talking about is the ability to touch the hologram, like a Minority Report or something like that. Whenever you're swiping across the holographic screen or HUD or whatever, you're able to interact and kind of like touch it and manipulate it in a certain way. So it's, that kind of technology, and, they're talking about that in 2015. And so now we're in 2021, and I'm sure research on that didn't stop, and it's probably a lot more refined and everything like that. So yeah, you got that. And then as far as like these plasma balls and stuff like that, I mean, that could probably be an explanation for a lot of the strange, like orange, what looks like energy balls floating around in the sky and stuff like that. And all kinds of sort of technologies and things exist to do that. Well, one of the first things I think about is scalar.
Yeah.
Right? Scalar is crossing two beams, and where those beams intersect, it creates a ball of plasma. And that that technology has been around for a long time. I mean, this is the stuff we've talked about when we were discussing weather warfare, weather manipulation, geoengineering, and all of that stuff.
Well, think about this as well, Scott, right? These sightings, a lot of them off the coasts of America. You got the East Coast, the West Coast. Now, on the East Coast, really interesting because you've got the whole. Remember Joe? He was at the Virginia Naval Yard, and what you find, Virginia Beach, it's home to like special forces. You've got the SEALs training there, but you've also got a whole heap of installations that deal with electronic warfare and artificial electronic warfare drills and things like that. The exact stuff we were talking about in Project Palladium. They're able to simulate, electronic warfare going on. So
that's
all of this happens, right? All of these videos are taken. It just happens to be in like well within the reach of all these like really highly advanced special forces, cyber, spooky, weird technology stuff. And it just all happens out in that nice bit of water just off the coast there. Well, how bloody convenient's that? And again, a big shout out to Alien Scientist. Go and check out his work on this. He'll show you the places on Google Earth. He'll show you things that look like Tic Tacs,
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, and then what is like? I mean, that's the Navy specialty. That's what they, that's kind of like their whole thing when it comes to our military. Is the Navy specializes in all of that cyber warfare, kind of jamming signal, electronic warfare. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, electronic warfare, jamming signals, scrambling things, just basically causing havoc with enemy systems. And what better way to do that than to like, you're crossing different frequencies and beams and generating plasma balls out in the middle, and I think when you're doing that would cause a lot of havoc on enemy systems, right? Like, I'm sure a ball of plasma would probably show up on radar. You know what I mean? Because then you're generating energy and mass, out of that technology or whatever. So I mean, you could cause things to appear in the air. They also have to think about like the psychological warfare aspect of it as well. Are we going to have to go a little bit of blue beam on this as well? Because now we're talking about that ability of being able to generate things in the sky, that laser technology and create visuals. Wasn't there that article you were showing where they were like generating fleets that didn't even exist and things like that?
Yep, I've got it here. And I'll just give the headline: the Navy's secretive and revolutionary program to project false fleets from drone swarms. And I believe this is called Project Nemesis. Another project, and this is in the drive. This is mainstream stuff, 2019. This has been some of the stuff that's been coming out in between the 2017 change in opinion, or the change in the way that the media report this stuff, and where we are today. Again, whatever's going on, I find it fascinating that it's all happening right now. I was speaking to Nano, and we were talking about how it's been said that we've all chosen to be here at this exact time for all of the huge things that are going on right now in our part of the solar system. I think all of this all plays into it all. Again, it's the craziest like ride in the world, but I'm trying not to have any preconceived ideas of where it's really going to lead to, what's really going to happen. Because we don't know what's
Yeah.
going to come out, and we can only sit and observe, and we can try and read between the lines, because even when they come out with their document, you're not telling me and Scott that that's them showing us everything, right? We're not that naive. We're not sitting here telling you that. So it's just another episode in the ongoing
They're just
There we go.
comfortable.
Dare we call
They're-
it disclosure?
They're just comfortable enough to start releasing it or letting the public in on some of this stuff, because either they've moved ahead with something that they feel is more valuable to them, and they don't feel the need to hide it from the public anymore. I mean, that's what we see with a lot of these technologies and things like that. I mean, we always discuss how they're like 30 to 70 years ahead of of us, of what the peons get and what we
Are we preons now, thanks to everything that's gone on? Yeah. See, you like that little play on words there, Scotty boy.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, we've only
I
got
like it.
5-6 minutes left, right? And I feel bad because on the pre-show stream, I promised we were going to get into this 33rd parallel stuff. But I'm thinking now we can save it for Freaky Friday.
Yeah, I think it's a little more fitting for Freaky, because
But you think about the 33rd parallel, right? Because there's a whole heap of woo. I mean, we're talking UFOs and aliens here. Well, loosely, because we're probably talking more about military tech. But a lot of these sightings, a lot of things happen around that 33rd parallel. Whether it's UFOs, whether it's... And a lot of, like, earthworks. A lot of these kind of mounds in America and things like that lie on that line. You've got it going right through the Middle East as well. Past your pyramids, all that
maybe
stuff. And that's just the northern
maybe
one, dude.
Yeah, maybe it's a natural energetic zone. Maybe there's something that has to do with the magnetic field at the 33rd parallel that draws people to it. Much like birds and other migratory animals are drawn to locations because of the magnetic pull on their brain telling them to go to that area. Maybe there's a natural pull for humans to go to these locations and set up shop, set up civilization or build things there or do something, that there's this kind of, they don't know why they want to go there, but there's something drawing them there, right? And so maybe there's something about the 33rd parallel that, holds this energetic field that we feel like we need to go there, or that at least ancient civilizations or ancient man or whatever felt that it was important to be on that 33rd parallel. Very interesting. And then you just get into the number itself, 33, the numerology stuff, and
Age Christ died, number of vertebrae, Freemasons.
and I'm one of those individuals that see 3 all the time, so it's like,
Yeah. 3 plus 3 equals 6. 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. Oh, somebody mentioned 369 before. Pretty brainy dude that was into his electromagnetism and things like that.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And
And
so
we ain't talking about Thomas Edison.
No,
Filth.
get out of here, Phil. Scum.
Team Nicola. Team Nicola all the way, man. Yeah, definitely.
Indeed.
So, dude, we've got about 4 minutes left, man. What else can we get into on Freaky tomorrow? And I'm going to write it down, 33. So we're starting on 33 tomorrow, right?
Okay. My mom got to witness the Starlink satellite train.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Went right over.
Was it a quasi-religious event like I'm going to have when I get to witness it in all its glory? Oh, Elon, no.
Dude, she came inside. She was so excited because like she wasn't even expecting it. You know, she just happened to be outside on the front porch, looked up, and it was like, boom, went right over. I was like, oh. And then it was, so I looked up on, there's a whole website to where you can
Track them.
up when it's track them and see when it's going to fly over, and it was going to come over the next day, same time. You know, it just in a little bit different spot in the sky, but it was supposed to be. But as luck would have it, Mr. Lopez didn't get to witness it because it was nice and cloudy and rainy. So I missed it, but my mom got to see it the day before. So, well, at least she got to see it.
I think there was another one. I'm pretty sure I seen they were streaming live today. It's like every other day now they're sending things up there, dude. It's like so commonplace now. It's hardly a story.
I think their quota is like 6,000 satellites a year.
Yeah.
Because
next year they're going to the moon. They're taking like 2 trips to the moon and things, and we've seen the big phallic rocket landing now. He's got that down to the grid. So, dude, next stop Mars, man.
As soon as Starlink becomes available in my area, I am completely ditching my ISP. Like, no joke. Like,
Have you looked into it? Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, price is really not much. It's about the same as what we're paying now. So I'm in.
Dude, I think a lot of places. I mean, if it ends up being better than what I've got, I would have no qualms about going there. I think it's probably, if Musk's doing it, I'd imagine it's probably going to be not bad. People are sitting there going, "Oh, Baker, he's the devil's spawn."
We're shills, Kev. We're shills for
Of course
Musk.
I am.
But...
Christ, Scott, I've forgotten how many people I'm meant to be working for, and you know what? Not one lousy paycheck. All I've got is a bloody warrior mode T-shirt, and that's about it. You know what I'm saying?
But look, I mean, anybody using their phone right now, I mean, are you a shill for Google because you're using Google Assistant, or, you know, I'm on my computer on Windows right now. Does that make me a shill for Bill Gates? I watched
a weird thing today, man. Check it out if you get a chance, folks, on YouTube. Vice, the robot hotel. Now, we spoke about it with Nano on the show before, but this is like weird. This is uncanny valley stuff. There's like a robot dinosaur that checks you in, and it's all robot. Yeah. So until next time, wherever you are, make it TFR.
And then he talks